another sew along as part of the Mimi G for Michael Levine collaboration. Today we're going to be working on a really cute and super simple poncho. Here are the tools you're going to need to get started. So you're going to need the usual suspects. You're going to need some pins, you're going to need some coordinating thread to match your fabric, you're going to need a ruler, either a yardstick or a clear ruler. You're going to need a chalk roller or a piece of chalk, and of course you're going to need some scissors. Now I'm choosing to make my poncho or cape, whatever you want to call it, out of this really amazing wool blend. And of course I link to all of the fabric options in the blog post, which is linked in the description box below. You're going to need at least 2 1/4 yards of fabric for this project. And when you bring your fabric home from the fabric store, it's always folded in half with right sides facing the side people are going to see, and selvage edges together. Selvage edges are the finished edges that you see on your fabric, the length of your fabric. There is no pattern for this. We're simply going to mark directly onto our fabric, cut it out, and start sewing. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to leave your fabric folded lengthwise with selvage edges meeting, folded in half, right sides facing each other. And we're going to start marking some measurements. What I want you to do is, starting about 4 inches from the top of your fabric, I want you to measure down about 4 inches and make a mark. And then what I want you to do is, from that folded edge, the folded edge is towards me, so it's on my side. You want to make sure that the folded edge is here and the unfolded edge is away from you. And what you're going to do is you're going to measure out 24 inches from that fold, and you're going to make a straight line. And look at the diagram if you get a little confused or you can't see my markings. Now what you're going to do is, from this line that we just created, we're going to measure down 3 inches. And now what you're going to do is you're going to go at an angle and you're going to measure out 3 inches from that point all the way around. We're creating our neckline. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to measure down 24 inches, not from the first line, but from the 3 inches that we just created. Measure down 24 inches and mark. And then you're going to pivot your ruler and you're going to continue marking 24 inches along that line. We're also going to be creating a facing for this, but we're going to do it after we sew our shoulders together. Now we're going to cut around our half circle. Following your markings. Let me bring this closer to myself. And then cut across the straight line that we did at the top. And then you're going to cut out your circle, that half circle that we created 3 inches from the top. So when you're done, you should end up with a piece that looks like this. Now, since we've created one, we need to create another one for the front and one for the back. So what I want you to do is I want you to place the one that we already made, still folded in half, over your fabric, which should also still be folded in half. And we're literally just going to copy. You're going to cut around your fabric. Set your extra fabric aside. Now we need to open up one of these. So move one out of the way. And on this folded edge, we're going to cut it open. So just put your scissors in between the layers and just cut it open. what I want you to do before you move this is I want you to make 2 little snips on the shoulder side, not the front opening we just cut, so that you know that this is your shoulder. It's easy to get them confused. So I've made 2 little snips, just like this. Now we have 2 pieces for the front and 1 piece that is still cut on the fold for the back. Now that we have our 3 pieces, we're going to take this to the sewing machine. We're going to sew our shoulders together. Then we're going to come back here and we're going to cut our facings. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to grab the back piece, which is the one that was still on the fold, right? This is our neck here. And we're going to pin right sides facing at the shoulders. So what I want you to do is I want you to grab one front, find the neck, and remember that you made a double notch to let you know that this is the shoulder. So what I want you to do is I want you to start to pin along that entire shoulder. Make sure that right sides are facing. My fabric is the same on both sides, so it really doesn't matter. But if yours isn't, you will want to make sure that the right sides of the fabric are facing each other and you're looking at the wrong side. And you're going to pin along the shoulder. And I guess it's the shoulder and the arm since it's a cape. Right? And so here's our neck opening, and then here's the front neck opening. And you're going to pin the other one the same way. And we're going to sew both sides using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So starting on one side, sew all the way down. Now you're going to do the same thing to the other side. You're going to sew all the way down. Now when you turn it to the inside, you can already see that the poncho is taking shape. It's already the neck, the back neck, and you can see the front neck. And you could literally put this over your shoulders and be done. But we're going to do some finishing. So we're going to take this back to the cutting table and we're going to trace around our neckline and along the front to create our facings. Okay, so I want you to grab your scrap fabric, and along the longest side I want you to fold over so that you have, I don't know, at least a good 8 or 9 inches of fold, just like you see me doing here. I'm gonna move some stuff out of the way. The fold is facing me, and what you're going to do is you're going to grab your cape, and now I pressed my seams flat already on my shoulders, as you can see. And what I want you to do is I want you to place your seams together like this. Essentially, you're folding your cape in half. And what you're going to do is you're going to place the folded edge against the folded edge, making sure that you leave at least 3 to 4 inches at the very top. And then you're going to simply lay the front opening also along the folded edge. And we'll open that later. And you're just going to flatten this out. So here's my cape. And I've left myself at least 4 or 5 inches. And what we're going to do is we're going to trace around this opening. Now remove your cape, and with your ruler we're going to measure out 3 inches all the way around this curve. And then you're going to measure 3 inches down from the bottom end of our half circle. And then I want you to measure out 3 inches. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a straight line all the way down to the end of your front opening. So if you need to make sure you measure the right length, you can simply place your cape back on, measure the length to make sure that you went all the way down. This is the bottom. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cut that out. It's going to look like an odd shape. First, we're going to cut around the outside of our circle, following your lines. And we're going to stop when we reach the 3-inch mark so we can cut all the way down. We don't want to cut through it. Remove your excess. And now we're going to cut out the inner circle. And since this is the front opening, we need to open up the folded edge. So what we're going to do is you're going to start to cut just like we did the front piece. We're going to cut this open. Now we're not going to cut the top fold so that when we open it, we have a really weird shape that looks like this. Now take this back to your sewing machine and let's sew our facing onto our cape. Okay, now we're going to attach our facing to our cape. So what I want you to do is, with the right side facing, right? So the right side of your cape should be facing you. Here's the back and the front opening. And you're going to lay this over the top. The right side should be facing the right side. And we're going to pin one at the corner here. And then we're going to pin all around our neckline. Once you have your entire neck pinned, we're going to also pin down the front. Go ahead and pin all the way down. And you're going to pin both fronts. Once you're done pinning, we can start sewing. Okay, as you can see, I have finished pinning all the way around my neck and down both the front openings. And now we're going to sew in place. We're going to start at the center back. We're going to sew around one side of the neck and all the way down. And then we're going to do it again, starting at the center back again and working our way down the other side. So starting at the center back and using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, we're going to sew. I'm going to pivot and sew all the way down the front, also using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now we've done one side. We're going to turn it over and we're going to sew, starting again at the center back. Make sure to overlap your stitching. And we're going to do the same thing. Now I want you to go ahead and trim your corners. And then trim your neckline down to 1/4 of an inch. So what I want you to do is I want you to open this out, right? So that the facing is open. I want your seam allowance to be facing your facing. And we're going to stitch really close to the edge on the facing, not the cape. This will keep your facing from folding out to the outside of your cape. We're going to try and go up into, as far up into the corner as we can. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And you're going to do the same thing along the neckline. With the facing, or your seam allowances facing your facing, you want to do the same thing. You want to sew close to the edge on the facing only around your neckline. Once you're done understitching, you're going to take this to your ironing table and you're going to press this to the inside all the way around. Okay, now that your facing is turned and pressed to the inside, all that's left to do is the hem. So what we're going to do is we're going to, one, turn over our facing like this. And we're going to sew 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then you're going to turn that to the inside. You may need to trim your corner if it's too thick. And then on the inside, what you're going to do is you're going to press up all along the edge of your cape, 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then you're going to stitch along the bottom. Once you're done pressing your hem, you're going to go ahead and sew across the entire bottom. Continue until you reach the other end. Now you have the option of making buttonholes like I'm about to do, but I can't exactly tell you how to make buttonholes for your machine. Every machine is a little different, so you will want to refer to your instruction manual that came with your sewing machine on how to make a buttonhole. Now I have placed a pin where I want my buttonholes to be, so I'm going to start with my very first one. Continue making your buttonholes and then cut them open and hand stitch your buttons to the other side, and you are all done. That's all there is to it. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and so long until next time. Peace.